traveler.
Hi everybody, we've got a special treat today for the Let's Get Fit and Yoga part of the program. I have a teacher with me, Eleanor Leatham, and friend. And Eleanor is the person that I was telling you about the last couple of weeks that came to Kamloops this past weekend to do a toning workshop. She's one of the teachers who's influenced me more than anyone I've ever studied with or practiced with. She's involved in a lot of yoga conferences that I'm also involved in. She helps people that are on an exploration and self-awareness and self-discovery and self-expression to really tap into their full potential, and I'm really delighted to have her here on the program to share her a little bit with you. So thank you for coming, Ellie. A lot of people are becoming more and more familiar with you here in Kamloops because you've been here twice now, but there will be a lot of the viewers watching that don't have any idea what we mean by toning. So maybe the first thing that we could talk about is just what is toning, and it's not building up the muscles the way people sometimes think of body toning. So can you describe a little bit?
Well, if I were to say what toning is, it's really the creative power within the voice to have a feeling of fulfillment within self. In other words, we have a voice, we have power that comes through this voice, and when this power is released, there's a feeling of expansion and well-being within us. So it isn't just a tone, it's what's within the tone. And your body is, in a sense, an instrument that allows the voice to amplify, to release itself, and whatever is deep within self can move to the surface and out, be one way of saying it.
What are the kinds of things that would interfere with a person being able to express fully through their voice?
Well, of course, tension is the main one, and tension, of course, is caused by a uncertainty about whatever you're going to do. So in a way, you might say if you're sensitized to being unsure about your environment or your abilities, then your defense system will go into play. In other words, you're not going to be out here if it's dangerous. You're going to be in here where it's safe. In a sense, this defense system activates when the mind holds a certain attitude, a certain prejudice about what it feels, about what it's entering into, a person's entering into. So the defense system is always there to guard us against that environment. However, the enemy is within, the fear is within, and we simply project that out as a probability, and we act as if it's real. And so it's very important to be able to get beyond the defense system, which is usually between here and here. You know, it's most of our pain happens to us right in this area because we're clamping down. So something in here is feeling uncertain. When this part feels sure, the voice just, opens up. When we're unsure, it goes like this. So really we're feeling the very thing that we believe to be true, and it's all internalized within the body. It's not in, it's a thought that's put into motion within the body.
Some of the thoughts and attitudes that are internalized and that are interfering with our expression are very deep, are very old, and go back as far as childhood.
Yes, I've worked with toning as a therapy for about 10 years, and all of it, what I've been involved in, has been developed through working with people, seeing cause and effect. And the thing I've noticed is that somewhere in the early years, you decide what is safe. Is it safe to be quiet? Is it safe to manipulate? Is it safe to have winning ways? Is it safe to whatever? And that becomes sort of a platform for survival. Whereas we decide it's a little dangerous to reach out, we might get our finger slapped, so we go cautiously. Or if we are trained that it's safe to come out under certain circumstances, we'll then feel our own confidence. Our confidence is based on our ability to project outward, is based on the feeling of confidence. If that isn't there, then there's nothing to thrust out. Whereas you have, say, trust in what you are, then you can thrust that out. If that's down, you're not going to come out the door with your self. As you move into situations where you present more of your personality, as it comes out, you develop it. If it's held back, it's always waiting for development. The old 5-year-old trait or 3-year-old trait is still sitting in there governing an adult and what it's allowed to do.
Well, if the voice is an expression of that kind of lack of confidence, for example, how do you show people how using the voice can break through that and make changes?
Well, first of all, the average person holds their defense system in, keeping, you might say, the wiring of this sort of body language in, and that body language says, this isn't very safe. This is what it's saying. You're playing a tune, more or less, this way. So in order to survive, there's a tendency to use the intellect to figure it out. If this will happen or that'll happen, or I can manipulate that and that, I can then, be safe. So the mind is trying to somehow figure out this, but it's disconnected from what's going on here. This is a action from a thought. That's all it is. And the way we breathe, the way we think as we breathe, decides in this moment what we're going to feel. Even though we may be worried about something 6 months from now, or the way it's always been a problem, it's always now. So, example would be, if I thought that when a certain situation was right, I could feel good. That's my permission to do that. If I say I can now do that anyway, then this wave of energy comes into here and begins to cause a kind of an orchestration that allows me to feel the feeling of feeling good. If I wait for outside conditions, then I will still let myself do this, but only when certain things are met. When that job comes through, when that wonderful person comes along I can love, then I can say, I'm safe. It feels good. So why not just say, I'm safe now, and not wait 6 months and enjoy your space now. So it's that kind of thinking, sort of projected thinking. So in a sense, your sensitivities from the past here are dictating what you'll feel now. And as you're in this mode, you might think, oh yeah, that's dangerous in the future. But what's now has to be shifted so you feel differently while you think about the future. It's the underlying uncertainties, that vibration that causes people to have problems in stepping out into something new.
I think the exciting thing for me in working with you in workshops and privately is a rediscovery of my own power in being able to create the spaces that I want to feel. And to recognize and have people recognize that right now another feeling is available to me if I tap into that.
Choice.
So it's empowering to learn that, rediscover that. What I see a lot of people doing, and you do too, I'm sure, is that people will carry around the story of the experiences that they've had very concretely in the body, and that their whole body is just kind of an expression of the story that they're believing in their mind. And it's important not just to work at a mind level for many people, which is, as you say, a lot of people are up in the head intellectualizing it and wondering why they're not making changes in their lives.
But they're really self-inflicting. You might say energy is always rushing toward us. It has to go through the grid of the mind. The mind has a certain attitude, and the attitude may be, I'm prejudiced against somebody. All right? So I will react to that person a certain way. That's my attitude about something. I can change that. I can decide to look at it differently and not react. But at this moment, we'll say, we've got a thought. I don't like what that person's doing. And the minute that thought is issued, the body, you might say in a sense, there's a subtle body within this, an electrical body, an emotional body, where the fields of energy play. Then as this thought passes into action, the person will feel that feeling of, ooh, I don't like what they're doing. That's in there. And it may be rumbling in there. But because the person doesn't feel safe in expressing that, the action would come out and be finished. If they said, ooh, I don't like what you're doing, it'd be out there. That would be it, right? But if they said, I don't like what you're doing, hold. I won't let anyone see this. If I do, they may not like me, they may retaliate, I may not look like a nice person, whatever it is, but I've still put this into motion, and I put down the clamp, hold a nice straight face. So back here is all this energy that wants to come out as expression. Now if we think about this over and over about this person, the energy starts impacting, maybe across the shoulders, because that's where the action would have been. Then over a period of time, what seems to be a little bit of energy gets to be a lot of impactment within this electrical system. The muscles of the body are maybe bulging a little differently because we tend to act this way with one hand. So one set of muscles will be overloaded because they're supposed to go out and say, I don't like what you're doing. And then it's over. I mean, that's what you're feeling, that's what you're doing. But as it impacts, the muscles will begin to feel that pressure and begin to build. And actually, this thing is trying to come out as an expression. So to keep it down, we keep the zone from here to here clamped. So we have a lot of neck problems. We have a lot of problems with tightness in the face, and the voice is restricted. Some of the things we throw back there are things that are very destructive to ourselves. Someone decides not to go someplace with us, and we have a prejudiced thought that says, see, I'm always rejected. Now, the person may have a lot of different reasons for going out the door, but that's the one we believe. So as this person does what they're doing, we will say, yep, there it is, I'm rejected. And the thought is thrown inside again the electrical system, and the feeling is, oh, now we don't want that to come out. We'd have to feel that expression. So as it's clamped down, more and more of this energy impacts, and somewhere along the line, it gets so much of it until we have to shut off our whole feeling system. We have to numb everything down, and we'll say, that doesn't bother me, but I wonder why I'm so cut off. I can't feel anymore. Well, this body is meant to feel and act now. We live now, we breathe now, we're here, and this energy simply wants to come out. No emotion is dangerous. All sadness or happiness is all part of life. But once the feeling comes out, then there's a peace in the body, because that action has been finished. Now, they just store a lot of it. You're on a powder keg. So you can't look at certain situations or be around people because they stimulate this. The energy starts rising. You get that old feeling, I don't want to feel that. And if it doesn't feel very good because it's been very maybe destructive. So here we sit between trying to feel the peace and holding it, trying to figure out, and wondering how we're going to get into a place where we can be peaceful again. The whole point is the attitude is incorrect, or we wouldn't have the problem. Something is wrong about the attitude. And the impactment has no way out until there's a letdown. So toning is nature's way to what? Clean house. And it's built, everyone tones. I mean, you tone every day. Every time you have a headache, you'll say, oh, the voice comes up, right? When you're yawning, there's a sound release. When you have a stomach ache, the sound goes from oh, head down to oh, tummy. So we have these different sounds that the body just finds the same type of sound and it releases it. If something's very tense in the body, there'll be a, oh, my shoulder hurts. And we're really de-stressing. Groaning, if you're very hurt, you've been in an accident, you're unconscious, the body will roll back and forth and groan until it relieves its stress. It's nature's way. But we have a tendency to hold back the natural release. So the voice is very powerful. It's so powerful that when I work with people who do exercise, they'll say, I wonder why I keep having this problem with this thing in my back. I'll ask them what exercise you're doing. You know, and they'll say, well, I'm doing, well, no voice, but they'll go like this. And I'll say, well, add voice to it. Voice comes out. Oh, the voice comes out. They go, oh, that's better. You know, they associate their stress and the ability to release the sound with the fact there's impacted energy. They're going through a physical motion without an emotional cleansing. They go together. You can't be tight like this and then turn around and be like this without letting go of something. So
the release of breath is a really automatic trigger for release of tension, but with voice, it's even more
very
amplified.
Powerful. Look at the martial arts before they decide to chop all that wood or bricks or something. They first of all clear the solar plex area, which is tension release. This way, right? And they go, and the energy begins gathering more power up here. And they're up here. Now they're about up to here, and they're going to commit this to a thought to cut. Now, I wasn't clear on that because I'm a little tense with all these lights on here. Right? But if the voice was committed to just that one crack, it would sound like a crack, and they would cut through something. But if they thought, should I do it or shouldn't I do it, they'd have divided that energy away from thinking about it to a straight doing. And so they're really on to one positive delivery.
So the energy is directed and not divided.
That's right. It's not part of saying, should I do this? But I'll come out the door with a little bit. As long as there's something back here holding, you're going to vibrate to the uncertainty and always witness life through a sense of uncertainty. The whole point is to get the voice down in here and liberate the voice. I think I'll do this or that. But if I go, I think I'll do this or that, I'm up here and I'm still feeling the uncertainty. So I need to get into here, touch the solar plex area, release comfort, and then let the words ride out in a field of comfort. Anytime there's tension, there's a reason for it.
So I've noticed that in the workshops and in the work you do with people, quite often there's sort of two stages. One is that clearing stage and settling into a nice warm feeling. From there, from that space, then the person can direct their power. And that's more or less the way you...
Well, that's a very good point, because there's one thing to release the body, There's another thing to decide to how far you can go beyond what you used to do. That's called the wiring. And wiring is the program pattern that says, when I reach out my arm to you, hello, that's safe. But if I say, hello, that may not be safe, because this zone between here and there is something I'm not used to dealing with, right? And so the wiring that's in here says, go that far, smile that far, whatever, says that's a safe zone. If you go beyond it, something in the past has taught you that somehow you might be exposed, someone might not like it, and so you play it as safe as you can. The idea of getting in here and be able to push outward a new sense of yourself and go beyond the wiring, which is letting a feeling of this clearness. Interesting thing about clearness, as the vessel in a sense is emptied, then it can now go beyond prejudiced thought, and that is to simply raise your consciousness up from to then you come out on the breath. You come out as a flow, and there's nothing tied to that subconscious feeling. This freedom doesn't know anything about your subconscious. It just knows about your liberty. You need to make sure that you have a free breath to flow on. The interesting thing is you can't have even joy, a feeling of joy, unless you decide to let go of your limitation of joy. The body language is very important for sound release. If you were to want to feel joy, and we'll say the action of joy would be joy. Okay. So if you're tight here, you might build this feeling up, but then it would stop about here. Joy. There's no joy in that, right? Joy. If you really get into it, joy. The whole permission to feel. It's so important that the little bit extra here makes you feel that much better. This is to allow yourself to go beyond. So permission to feel good is, again, a prejudice kind of thing. You have to decide that you can push beyond where you are, so that vibrational feeling within yourself fills you and sustains you. We're meant to feel inwardly, love inwardly, and push it outward. Usually it's conditional, it's held back. So we're not feeling so good in here. So getting back to the driver's seat, you might say, of the body, so that you can emotionally steer it to where it needs to be, is to get into the trunk, get through here. This is where the problem is, the throat. It's tight, it's holding us back. So it's just to open it, slide in, seat yourself here against the solar plexus, like the martial arts do. But from that point, now it can orchestrate into something else. But it can't until it connects the solar plexus. If it isn't connected there, then something else is, and you're always a little high in your breath, never quite getting down to a release so something else can come up new. So it's very much, how well are you in here? How well are you able to orchestrate where you are? Because you play it like a tune. A feeling, and you allow it to happen.
When people are unable to do that release of sound, the way you just demonstrated, what are some of the things that you teach them to do, or show them how they can release the throat, particularly, and the tension in this area, so that the sound can come?
Yeah, it's interesting, because you might say the body language that says would be one thing, but if you were to you're almost saying, I'm going to dump something. So if you try to force the throat, it's really this energy down here that you're trying to push a tense outward, and that opens the throat naturally. But you can't do it if you're tensing this way. You can't go, I want to get through my voice. So if you, and this could be very strong. So I'm dumping at the end. I'm not dumping out. See, it just goes by itself. There's a tremendous amount of power in there. It comes out, whatever you want to do with it, it's there. But it feels like little needles are going through you of exhilaration, because a tremendous amount of power is released. You don't walk around doing that, but it feels good just to get a feeling of your space.
Well, and I think for people to discover how much they actually divide their energy by having an intention to do something, but holding back in part. And quite often it is in the head, isn't it? That there's an intention to do something, but the rest of the body doesn't join in and cooperate with it. The body's actually in conflict with it.
It's disconnected. There's many times when we've been in class, we've asked people to say, there, down there. And they'll go, there, there. And it's not connected. Not aware. They're not aware they're doing this. They're so disconnected until they, and then even the part that thinks about this might say, well, what does it mean? Until you can feel the way these harmonics work together as an action, do you feel this feeling of wholeness and being put together. So in a way, you're synchronizing the whole action, something into a way of doing it. Even the feeling of being strong, we'll say. Sometimes our strong will be something like strong, or I'm strong, I'm strong. You know, King Kong comes out of most men when they really let go, and they're amazed, and they like the feeling because it's their most, like their sail is billowing, and they feel their strength, and it's echoing back to them, and it's like being validated. When you sort of hold back, there's, let's say, I'm having the right to feel myself feeling powerfully strong. So the sound is beautifully, like it's becomes a harmonic pattern inside that has to be from strong, or maybe strong, to strong, strong. The whole thing pushes outward, and feeling and self, in a sense, become the whole idea of what the thought is. You might say, I want to feel strong. That's a statement. To feel strong is the doing of it. The realization is in the doing. And you get in touch more with your space and feeling. Most people are afraid to get in here. They've got so many little leftover things that worry them. But the minute you push down against that solar plexus and get that self down, everything stops because you're in charge. You say, I'm down here, we're stopping all this automation. We're going to get down here and feel that feeling of thrust. Just push on the solar plexus down and out, and you're in an action. Everything stops and says, oh, this is where we are? No, we're in charge. We're not sure we're in charge, but we really are. And we create all the time. Every thought creates something, but then we just are detuned from it. But when they wonder why, when we hit overload, the body screams that we can't take any more impacted energy. And then we begin to wonder what's wrong, you know, with it.
It's really the concept of wholeness that you brought out is really the essence of healing, and why this technique or therapy really is so healing, whether the person is doing it themselves or you're toning someone else. It's a reintegration of all the different energy patterns so that there's a sense of wholeness and
there's
unity.
also a sense of self-focus and real control, not head control, with tension here, trying to keep this in so nobody rattles it, but getting in here and then vibrating in here, so sense of feeling self. The more grounded you are in the body, more in the driver's seat, the more steady and calm everything looks to you. Because usually when you're floating above this, and this tension's here instead, it's talking to you about the way it feels, and you're victimized by it. You're not sure how to get it out of there. You simply release it and get yourself into it. And you really can't tell when you're into it, because sometimes you think you're into it and you're floating. So you really want to push really hard down on the solar plexus to ground yourself into the space. It's almost like you've watched people, we'll say the school marm comes in and everyone out there is, you know, acting up. She comes in, she knows who she is, right? She comes in, you quiet down over there, you sit down. Now, right now, you know she's in charge, but this, she pushes against the solar plexus. Her self-righteousness comes up here, and she tells them what it is. But if you come into a situation you're not sure, then you'll withdraw, and all of this begins to act differently for you. So coming in it with a sense of who you are, not to empower anyone else, but to empower yourself, to feel your strength, and your conviction comes to how much you're able to feel yourself here with determination. Will is that drive that can deliver itself into an action. If that makes any sense.
We're going to be taking a break in just a couple of minutes, and then we'll be back, and I'll have Ellie back for the yoga part of the program as well. And hopefully we'll be able to do this a little bit in the second part of the program too, but I was just going to suggest that maybe to finish off this part of the program, you could do a little bit of the toning with me, and we'll discover whether or not it comes through on the television is something that we've been wondering about, actually, if the effect of the vibration of the toning can be felt by the viewer watching television. But just to give people an idea of how you would actually go about toning someone else. So we'll do that, and we'll just finish off maybe a couple of minutes with that, and then take a short break and be back.
All right.
Okay?
First of all, I would sort of close my eyes, and I've found that I can touch that intuitive brain because it's on the side of the hum. It's on the side of the sound. It's not on the intellectual side. So the more you're able to hum and the more you're able to move, you sense within the person, and your own body will begin to feel like it wants to go someplace in there, or it wants to go and tune from a higher level. Most of the time I tune from a higher level, like a tuning fork. So the sound may come out on the lower level as if you were to close your eyes, so I can tune into you. It might be kind of like, it may go something like that, but on the higher octave, it would sound more like this. drawing the energy in the body, pulling it together, and begin to pulling it upward, plongs, and that's out the top of you so you don't control it, let it up and out, and then you can sing into it. We have another minute?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so anyone watching this, if you close your eyes, you will begin to feel what it feels like to you. If you watch me, you're on the outside of yourself. If you go inwardly, you can enjoy it like you would music. Like bathing the muscles with a sound. What are you feeling?
I'm feeling it spiraling around inside here and then being drawn upward through the top of my head.
Mm-hmm. Makes you feel like you have no top of your head, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
In a sense you don't. I mean, the body does, but you're the feeling person within this. And you can expand as wide as your joy, your feelings will allow. Okay. Should we stop? Or should we do it a little bit more?
Well, maybe we should stop here,
Okay.
take a little bit of a break, and then when we come back, we'll do some more. We'll take a short break and be back in about 4 or 5 minutes, and join us then.
Imagine you're a traveler from a distant galaxy, circling the